Belichick, his team is struggling. Mike Tomlin, his team is struggling. Who makes the playoffs? Belichick, Tomlin, either, neither, or both?
I got to lean towards neither. Like, it's a tough spot to be in. So Belichick, it seems like both of them have big question marks at the quarterback spot. So if they can't figure out who their quarterback's going to be, if he's going to be healthy or he's going to play, that's a problem. They still have the coordinator concerns on offense. The defense is not as dominant as it once was. And we haven't seen Belichick do his great Belichick thing in a while. And again, the quarterback's the question mark in Pittsburgh. And they're missing Watt, their best defensive player. It's hard to understand how they're going to pull off enough wins to make the playoffs, especially in a division with the defending conference champs and the Ravens.
And the Browns playing better than perhaps we thought they would. Maybe neither of those legendary coaches are there in January. Next, how much guaranteed money would you give Lamar Jackson if you were cutting the check?
All of it, everything I could muster. I would give him all the things I could get. Whatever he wanted, I would say. I think Lamar Jackson has more touchdowns than any single team in the league. Not any player. He's scoring more touchdowns than all the teams. He's a special player. He's a unique player. We talked about this ad nauseum yesterday about how people have a difficult time being honest about how great he is for a number of reasons. So I don't have a problem with it. I see it every week. He's awesome. He's incredibly valuable to this team and incredibly valuable to this league. He's as exciting a player as there is.
He is over 80% of the number one offense in the sport, all by himself. All right, one more. We talked a lot about divisions before this season began. Which ones were going to be great? Here's the question. Which one division is going to send 3 teams to the playoffs?
I mean, I think that the Green Bay Packers, the Lions, and the Vikings in the North could potentially all make it to the playoffs. I think the Bears are in a rebuild mode. Yeah. But we all thought I guess the group of death was going to do it in the AFC West, but they aren't looking as strong right now. But I think they have the quarterbacks to get it done. They all have reasonable defenses. I know Goff is not the quarterback that we all want him to be, franchise-worthy quarterback, but he's been playing well enough this year with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Swift is running the hell out of that ball. I think that all 3 of those teams could make the playoffs, especially now because we have 17.
Interesting. I mean, the Bears are 2-1 with a winnable game on the schedule this weekend, but I think most people would agree with you. Maybe it's the NFC North that winds up sneaking 3 teams in. Speaking of that division, did you hear Rex on Monday? He is not sold on the Packers without Davante Adams. Listen.
I still think this team, desperately misses Davante Adams.
Sure.
We're going to talk about Dobbs or whatever. Yeah, okay, and some of the plays Rodgers makes, again, flawless, and they score 14 points.
Yeah, desperately misses Davante. Can they be good enough to win the Super Bowl? Yes, both of those things can be true.
All right, so that was a pretty reasonable take from Monday, Dan, which is, yes, the question is, the absence of Davante, and like Romeo Dobbs had himself a nice day. Maybe he comes along. Maybe the other rookie, Christian Watson, comes along. Lazard is there. Does Rodgers have enough with this group to get to the Super Bowl?
I don't know if we can frame it like that, G, because I don't think they're going to be led by their offense if they are going to make a run to the Super Bowl. I think it's going to have to be led by their defense. If you look at the investments that they've made on that side of the ball with draft capital and cap space, it's going to have to be led by the defense. It'll look a little bit different than what we're accustomed to. Now, when it comes to the receivers, it's clear that Aaron Rodgers doesn't trust those guys. Once they go off script, once they get past the first 20 to 25 plays, it falls apart. There's a reason why this offense has only scored 10 points combined in the second half through the first 3 games of the season. They can't make the adjustments once defenses adjust to what they're doing, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't trust the receivers to see it the same way. Could that improve with time and reps? Sure it could, but I don't think that's what the Green Bay Packers are banking on in terms of their formula to get them to the chip.
That is an excellent note, and something to keep a close eye on is the team's inability in the second half, and has to do with, and that's where a guy like Davante Adams, they would just look at each other and they would figure something out.
Gee, last year when they had Davante Adams, they were 7th in second half scoring differential, plus 58. This year, they're 20th at -8 in the second half.
So, Neek, if they're going to have to get it from their defense, they're going to have to get it from the 2 running backs. Is that enough in the NFC?
Absolutely. I think it's certainly enough if you can keep the game close. When you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you feel really confident at the end of games. When you get in a single elimination tournament, I know that Aaron Rodgers hasn't always had success there, but there are very few quarterbacks that you want to have in that situation other than Aaron Rodgers. And as you pointed out, the problem with their receiving corps isn't necessarily talent, and it's not anything that can't be cured. it's something that will be cured with time. You're talking about getting comfortable. The more they play together, they're only going to get better. They can get through this early part of the season with a winning record and looking good. I think they're going to be much stronger later in the season than they are right now.
What do you think, Kmart?
I have confidence in this team because of the quarterback. If you're the Packers, for you to be okay with getting rid of Davante Adams, you have to understand that there are going to be growing pains, that you can't replace him with one guy, and it's going to take time for this offense to gel. I like the fact that David Bakhtiari came back. He was splitting reps, so he wasn't getting the full complement of offensive reps, but that's still an encouraging sign. This defense is legit. And this stat from Hembo, Aaron Rodgers' average completions have traveled only 3.5 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. That's the lowest in the NFL. Like, this offense is a work in progress, but you have faith because of Rodgers.
But does he have the patience? I mean, that's going to be the question.
He has to.
Well, he has to, but we often don't do the things that we have to do in life. We talked earlier about how the Chiefs, when they're playing a bad game, sort of last week when everything was going wrong, they had the one guy, Tyreek Hill, who can just make something happen out of nowhere. The Packers had that guy, and they don't have him either. Eventually, they have to miss that.
Yeah, they will miss that. There's no way you can replace Davante Adams, but I do think that Aaron Rodgers can figure it out with this group of guys. But to Dom's point, it's just going to take a little more time than probably he wanted to, because you're talking about young guys having their first foray into NFL regular season play. So this is going to be new. It's a learning curve that comes along with playing receiver in the National Football League.
I'll tell you right now, would still kick your butt up and down Michigan Avenue. So laugh at him at your own risk. As we continue, let's play Fact or Fiction. Canty. Lamar Jackson is going to shatter the single-season touchdown record. Is that fact or fiction?
That's fact, G. Right now, he's on pace for 56 passing.
As we continue, let's play Fact or Fiction. Canty. Lamar Jackson is going to shatter the single-season touchdown record. Is that fact or fiction?
That's fact, G. Right now, he's on pace for 56 passing touchdowns. That would eclipse Peyton Manning's 55. But here's the deal, G.
That's what I'm going to say. Sure.
Yeah, why do they stay? Nick, the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. Is that fact or fiction?
It's absolutely fact. They've been outstanding. The only question on their roster was their quarterback, and he may be the best thing on there right now. We wanted to know if he could pass the ball from the pocket, if he could attack zones. He's done that better than we could have ever hoped. If he continue to play like this and get even more help, because everyone on his team is going to keep getting better, I think this team may be the best team in all of football.
Well, Nick loves it because he picked the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl before the season started.
Boy.
Vegas is starting to catch up. Right now, they have the Eagles and the Bucks tied with the shortest odds in the NFC to go on and win the championship, still behind the Bills and Chiefs. Now, I want to frame this conversation differently than I had originally planned, because Chris Canty, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You just poured a little cold water on the Tua thing.
Yeah.
Are you pouring any cold water on the Jalen Hurts thing?
Hell no.
No. Okay.
I'm not putting any cold water on the Jalen Hurts thing.
No similarities there.
I'm completely bought into Jalen Hurts, and here's the difference between Jalen Hurts and Tua to me: the leadership intangibles. There's no question about who the leader of that Philadelphia Eagles team is, and all you hear from that locker room is them glowing about Jalen Hurts and his ability to lead and how he's taken it upon himself to improve this offseason, spending time on the West Coast with Tom House, working on his mechanics, and now seeing the return on investment. Look at that touch throw to Devontae Smith right there. That's on 4th and 2 right there. That's a big-time throw right before the halftime. There are a lot of things that we're seeing Jalen Hurts make improvements on in his overall game, and to me, that's the most impressive part about it. When a player already has a way where he can be successful by using him as a focal point in the run game, but then the evolution of him as a passer.
I'm not going to lie to you, Chris. You've only been married a very short time.
Yeah.
When you get this face, you got a problem. I'm telling you that right now. Kmart, what's your issue here?
You know what? My issue is I agree with everything Chris said about Jalen Hurts. See, now the clapping is backwards. Now you know I'm upset.
I don't know why you're doing the Nola clap on me. We ain't in New Orleans right now.
Because if you're going to praise Tua, if you're going to praise Jalen, you need to praise Tua, because you said I need to see Tua go up against the elite. And it's like, okay, he already beat the Bills and the Ravens. The Eagles have beaten the Lions, the Commanders, and Vikings. You know what I'm saying? Just make it make sense. Just make it make sense for me.
Well, I've seen one quarterback take his team to the playoffs. I haven't seen Tua do it.
Okay,
so there's that part of it too.
No, I I'm with you.
I've seen one quarterback play a full season. I haven't seen the other one do that yet. So there's that too.
Make it like I get it.
So I'm trying to help you make it make sense.
I'm with you on Jalen. My issue is why are you hating on Tua so much?
I'm not hating on Tua. The jury's still out on Tua. I need to see a larger sample size with Tua. I've seen Jalen Hurts take a team to the playoffs, and I've seen him actually improve his game. So that's the difference. I'm not saying that Tua is not a good player. Tua has the highest QBR of anybody in football through the first 3 weeks. I want to see if he can do it for 17 weeks.
But we also need to see if Jalen can do this for, like, all these arguments.
Jalen take the team to the playoffs.
Are applicable.
Let me get Nick in here. Nick, what do you want?
I'm enjoying this.
Me too.
I'm pro Tua. I'm pro Hurts. They're both doing. I mean, you can't take a team to the playoffs if the playoffs haven't started yet. So, like, as long as Tua keeps meeting these checkpoints, then I'm gonna keep being pro Tua. The sky's the limit for him. And the same is true of Jalen Hurts. These guys are playing really well. There are other quarterbacks in this league that deserve our criticism. These two are not the ones.
Right. The biggest thing I will say that I agree with Canty on is that one of the question marks about Tua coming out of college was his ability to stay healthy, perhaps because his frame is smaller. I mean, Jalen Hurts can squat 600 pounds. He's an enormous guy. Tua obviously isn't built that way. That does feel to me, Kmart, like the one very legitimate point he makes. He already gets banged up the other day. It's a terrible looking hit. We all think it's a hit, whatever it is. Of all the things that he said, that is the one that feels, to me, the most legitimate question mark about Tua right this minute.
I'll give you that, the health concerns. I'll give you that. The others, I need to see him against elite defenses and other teams. Like, I just feel like that's just nitpicking a little bit.
Let me ask one quick question before I run on to other matters here. So Chris Canty may be the single largest person I've ever encountered in my entire life. Are you more afraid of her than you are of him?
Absolutely.
Me too.
I mean, I know better. I've been married to a black woman for 12 years. When she get to clapping on your ass, you better simmer down. I know that.
I started rolling in this direction.
Come on over here, Greeny. Come on over here, Greeny.
We have much more on the NFL as we roll on in just a moment. Right now, we're going to college football on a jam-packed slate this Saturday, which will